Hey guys, coming to you with this brief instructional video about Tadasana mountain or our standing pose and also the mechanics of tree pose. We will see this quite a bit in our practices coming up. So let's get started. Mountain pose, our standing pose. We want to come to a nice, comfortable, neutral standing. We want to make sure that our feet are flat on the floor. Feel the four corners of the feet by lifting the toes off the mat. You should feel the inner and outer point of the ball of the foot, which is right here, just past the toes. And then you should also feel the inner and outer points of the heel. So you lift the toes off the mat, you feel that. You also will feel your kneecap kind of lift up towards your quads. And then there'll be some tightening of the quad muscles as you do that. That is what we call active leg. And so you want to get that sensation when you are standing in mountain pose. Now, feet are not close together. Feet are not wide. Feet are at hip distance. And hip distance is not necessarily the widest part of our hip here, but in line with our seat bones or the bottom of our pelvis, which is underneath the gluteus maximus. So you want to make sure that you line the heels up with your seat bones. That's hip width distance apart. Lift the toes, activation of the legs. Now you want to come into a neutral pelvis. That means you want your pelvis for your body to be as vertical as it can. Now, some of us naturally have a pelvis that tilts forward, that some of us that have arches in our back, or some of us, our pelvis is kind of tipped backwards and we kind of slouch a little bit. You don't want that to happen. In order to find neutral pelvis in your body, you take one hand and put it on the front of the pelvis and one hand at the low back. And as you can see, the pelvis hinges back and forth. You want to just make sure that you're sending these tailbones down towards the heels, and then that's a neutral pelvis. So we got active legs, hip width distance apart. We have neutral pelvis. Now, we have to activate the core. You hear me cue quite a bit. Coil the belly button towards the spine. So that's not just a sucking in of the belly, but it's really an activation of all the muscles that are in the abdominal region. Now, I did get permission from Mr. Kearney to show you all my belly. So, this is what my belly looks like natural, right? I've had quite a few babies. I got some skin here. It's cool. I'll come a little bit more into the camera. So as I coil my belly button towards my spine, you'll see that my belly draws in just a bit, but there is activation of the abs. You can see some of them underneath this skin. So you want to coil the belly button towards the spine and you'll feel activation of the ab muscles all the way across the abdominal region. So, active legs, hip width distance apart, neutral pelvis, active core. Now, some of us, when we activate our core, we kind of tense up. Yoga is about finding the balance between ease and effort. So you want to make sure that the shoulders really are relaxed and away from the ears. You want to make sure that the ribs aren't jutting out. But again, bringing this pelvis neutral brings the ribs also neutral. Nice, relaxed. And then we start in Tadasana with our palms down by our sides facing towards the front of the room. This is Tadasana mountain pose. Now, we'll usually take tree from hands on the hips or hands at heart center. So you bring your hands to your hips and then you shift weight kind of back and forth. I'm going to shift weight over into my right leg and then step on to my left toes. And then step the left toes in. Now, this requires some balancing already. a little trick. If you roll into the inner arch of that standing leg, that will give you some balance. Now, there are 38 bones in the ankle that helps our ankle to rotate. As we build strength, we'll be able to hold. But a gentle rolling of the ankle is completely fine if you're new to the practice. And so, again, readjust, making sure that the pelvis is neutral, taking those tailbones and pointing them down towards the heels. Standing on our right leg, left knee is bent. Now, we want to open that knee towards the left side of the room. See how my heel is kind of right over my standing leg ankle and I'm on the ball of my foot. Now, when we turn our knee, because we don't have the flexibility yet or the length in our torso and the rest of the body is going to want to go with it. I want you to resist that. You want to keep the hip points and the shoulders facing forward while you open the knee. Now, as much as you are opening the knee, I want you to bring the shoulders forward. That's the opposition. Now, this is a really good start for a tree pose. And when we come into tree pose in our practice, it's okay to stay here, focusing on keeping the shoulders towards the front of the room and keeping the knee opening towards the side of the room, bringing hands at heart center, really grounded into that standing leg, relaxed shoulders and breathing. That is stage 1. Stage 2 of tree pose, once you get there, you're able to hold that very comfortably. Then we'll move into the balancing act of the tree pose. So again, feet hip width distance apart, weight evenly distributed, active legs. We got neutral pelvis, active core, relaxed shoulders, arms down by the sides. Hand comes to the hip. I'll do it on the other side. We're going to shift weight now over to my left leg and step onto my right toes. Again, making sure that that pelvis is nice and neutral. Opening up the knee towards the right side of the room, but my shoulders again, hips again, still straight towards the front of the room. Now, as we get here, grounded into our standing leg, then we can start to play with the balance of tree pose by simply lifting the toes off the mat, putting them back down. We'll lift on our inhale, we'll release on our exhale. And so we'll try that, lifting still keeping this knee tracking towards the right side of the room, shoulders towards the front. And we'll get to a point where we can sit here and just kind of lift our toes off of the mat, and we'll just hold it. That is stage 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Shake it out. So then we'll start to graduate as we continue to build flexibility and strength in our legs and also in our core. We'll be able to slide the bent knees, foot up and down the leg. And as we develop in our practices, really the lunge pyramid flow really helps with this. Warrior 2 really helps with this. Getting the bent foot up the leg. Going on the other side. So we'll get here. We'll open up the knee. Bring hands at heart center. Even in 2, as we start to lift the toes off of the floor, we may extend our hands out. But again, I want you to refrain from arching the back. I'll turn sideways. I want you to refrain from arching the back when you do that. Keep all of the torso in a straight line. Bring the arms out to the side. As you can see, we'll start there, or eventually we'll be able to challenge the balance and bring the arms up overhead. This is another variation of tree pose. We are kind of in stage 2. Stage 1, I want you to stay here, really working on opening the knee while grounding in that standing leg. Stage 2, we can lift, we can start to play with the arms and balance. All right, Stage 3, these are for yogis who have been practicing for quite a while. Again, we come into our neutral Tadasana, bring hands at heart center, shift weight over into our standing legs, step our knee in, open the knee, and then we slide the foot up the leg, either near the shin and calf or past the knee joint into the inner thigh. We don't want to place our foot in the knee because the knee bends forward and back. If we put this pressure, that causes the knee to shift from right to left or horizontally, and we don't want that to happen. You'll tear ACLs, MCLs, and all kinds of stuff, and you don't want to do that. So, stage 3, again, shifting weight over into our standing legs, stepping onto that foot, opening up, bring hands together at heart center, and then simply just lift that foot so that the sole of the foot is touching the inner part of the shin and calf of the standing leg. And again, as you build flexibility in the hips and also in the knee and those muscles that connect them together, you'll eventually be able to slide that foot up the leg. What helps me is to kind of ground my heel into the inside of the leg. And some days I have it, some days I don't. Bringing the arms out or up overhead. These are our tree poses. We'll take them for a couple inhales and exhales, and then I will cue you to bring the hands together at heart center first before stepping the foot down on the mat. I pray that this was helpful. You will see tree pose quite a bit in our flow that we'll do on Sunday, March 29th. You all have a blessed day. I'll see you later. Bye.